Hello, friends. My name is Randy Smith. I'm one of the co-founders of CUInsight.com and the host of the CUInsight Experience podcast. And today I have the pleasure of being joined by Mark Arnold. He is the president of On the Mark Strategies. Thanks, Mark, for joining me today.
Randy, thanks so much for having me. It's a real honor. What you guys are doing at CUInsight is simply amazing. I don't know if I was a day oneer of a contributor, but I was close thereafter, I think. And just what you have done with that is amazing. The content you're pumping out is what credit unions need. You're the source. So it's great to be on.
Well, I appreciate those kind words, and you have been a long time contributor to the community since we started the community. And I would want to say one of the things that I really respect about you is consistent. It's like we have people who come on for a year, then they kind of drop off, but you've just been producing so much amazing content. So I knew we would have a lot to talk about, but everybody's here to hear the three questions from Mark Arnold. So let's just jump right into it.
Absolutely.
Before we hit record, you and I were talking about this interesting experience we're all living through. How are you and your team at On the Mark Strategies working with credit unions to help them and their members through this crisis?
Yeah, well, thanks, Randy. It really starts just with philosophically kind of how we approach this challenge. And really our philosophy from day one is that credit unions are literally saving the economy. They are saving the economy. You know, the healthcare workers there for sure on the health front lines, but the credit union employees and the credit unions, they're on the economic front lines. And COVID's a challenging situation from the health side, but it's also a serious issue on the economic side. And credit unions are very, very much on the front lines. They're saving the economy right now because so many people have lost their jobs. So many people are out of work and struggling. The credit unions that are doing the skip of payments, debt consolidation loans, waiving some fees, helping their members, you're literally saving the economy. And that's kind of been our philosophy from day one, is to approach it from that standpoint, because the reality is credit unions are living in the moment right now. You can't just think short term, you've got to think long term. And branding, marketing, training, and strategic planning, those are the things that are going to lead you out of the economic downturn. So we started with that philosophically, and then from there we just built information and programs that credit unions can really use right away to help them accelerate their growth.
Oh, that's fantastic. You've been kicking out some good content too, which we'll link to, that I think is helpful even for the credit unions maybe who haven't worked with you in the past, or let's say haven't worked with you yet. So
thanks. There you go.
You know, when we think ahead, is there, I mean, how do you think this affects credit unions in the long term? In just the way that we're doing business, down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. The temptation right now is to hit pause. That's the temptation.
Yeah.
The reality is pausing does not lead to growth. Pausing does not lead to growth. You've really got to have a growth mindset more than ever, and especially a growth mindset now. And those credit unions that have the growth mindset, they're actually accelerating. And you need to zig while everybody else is zagging. That's going to lead to long-term growth. You really have to focus on the long term. Now, to play a great long-term game, you've got to play a great short-term game. There are some things right now that you have to do. You've got to teach your employees how to engage with your members. You've got to teach your leaders how to coach their employees down. We've got some free downloadable tools on our website for you to be able to do just that. So you've got to play the short game. But you can't just play the short game. You've got to play the long game. I like what Donald Miller said recently. He talked about how the game we're playing has changed. You know, we were doing planning sessions last year. People were playing chess. You're thinking you're playing the game of chess. Now you're playing the game of tennis, where it's back and forth. Things are going so fast. I mean, you're playing like Federer. You just want to go back and forth. It's so fast. So even while you're playing tennis, you've got to play a little chess right now too. So balance that out there and make sure you're really focusing on your members and focusing on the long term. And the reality is too, I really want to encourage you, your listeners to be thinking about, you've really got to build in, honestly, probably about a 90-day plan right now, not just a long-term plan. You've got to build in both. You've got to build in a 90-day plan on your financials, a 90-day plan on your messaging, what's your messaging going to be, and then what's your plan coming out of the COVID? What's going to be your long-term plan? That you really got to build some multiple layers of planning now. That will get you through this moving forward.
Yeah. So this is kind of an add-on, scratch my own itch question, if you don't mind. But when that messaging is coming out, one of the interesting parts to me is it's not only to the members, but it's also to the staff, right? Like that's been, I mean, that maybe they're working remote for the first time or in shifts, right? Like different shifts. So
Right. Your internal messaging right now is absolutely critical. That's why we've developed a messaging that you can actually send to your staff. And if you want to, we send out a weekly free kind of talking points that you can use with your members, and then also one you can use with your staff. And if you want to sign up, just email me at mark@markarnold.com, and we'll see. It's a free resource we send out every single week to credit unions. It's just talking points that in messaging that you can use with your staff, and then also messaging you can do with your members, because you've got to over communicate with your staff right now, almost on a daily basis. And we're going to give you content that you can use with your staff. Just like your members are kind of freaked out over this, understandably so, they're stressing, your staff is stressing too.
Absolutely.
Your staff is stressed about their family, they're stressed about their job, they're stressed about their health. As a leader, you've got to communicate calm to them, and you've got to communicate positivity to them. And it calms them down, because if they're scared, if they're freaking out, they can't give that great member service that they need to for your members as well. So there's a direct correlation. Please do not lose sight of your staff during this in the messaging side, Randy. So that was a great question, and you're spot on right. That's why we've developed two tools simultaneously, your member track communications, but also your employee track. And again, just email me at mark@markarnold.com, and we'll just send you those every single week, just free.
We'll link to it in the post below too, so people can find it. So, last question here: how you doing personally? You got any hacks or tips you could share on how you've been keeping sane while staying at place?
Hack number one is don't binge watch Tiger King. No, just kidding.
Already did.
Okay. Yeah, well, I won't confess to that just yet, but yeah, I have been a little bit of that. But I'm joking, obviously. But one of my hacks is honestly has been able to get outside and run. That's been a huge blessing to me. I kind of came off a running injury there for a few months, and I will tell you, if I didn't have that, I think I'd be going nuts right now. So make sure you get out there and get some form of physical activity, where it's you're walking the dog, or that you're going on a run, walking with your spouse or significant other, whatever it is, get out there and do that. You absolutely have to. I will tell you, the reality is too, another hack is to realize on a personal level, you've got to have a plan. You've got to have a plan both personally and a plan professionally. So make sure that you have a plan out there. So whatever it is bringing you joy, get out a little bit as much as you can. Within reason, obviously on the walking side and exercise side, but do that. That's one hack. Another hack too is shy away from the negative vortex that is news and social media, because it is a negative vortex. I found myself earlier, I'm a journalism guy, so I'm consuming all this news. It's so negative. I became somewhat unproductive, to be honest with you, and I was struggling. And the reality is I kind of distanced that, and now I'm focused on reading some business books, making sure I'm up to date with CUInsight. Now's a great time to turn it into a learning opportunity for you and your employees. So try to limit that, because there's so much negativity out there, and it's so easy just to be attached to your phone or your iPad or your computer all the time. Detach and read something other than what's going on in the news cycle, because the reality is there's a lot of good stuff going on, Randy. There really is. There's some good things happening. There's some great things happening in credit unions. There's some great things happening out there. Let's focus on the good. Yes, I know it's serious. Yes, it's a real challenge, obviously, for our entire country. But I think the more we can focus on that, on the good that's happening, I think that'll help you with your mindset as well. So get out and exercise. Watch your inputs, because the reality is what you feed grows. What you feed grows. So what are you feeding yourself right now? Are you feeding negative news story after negative news story? Or are you feeding some of the great content that's at Credit Union Insight? Are you learning from others? Are you reading some business books out there? What are you doing to grow yourself right now? Because whatever you're feeding, that's going to grow. So those are a couple of hacks I would give you that way.
Well, now I can't wait for you to be on the podcast so I can ask about some of these books. That's always a question. So we're going to be able to link to all those too. So we'll help people out. The bonus last question, any final thoughts you'd like to share or asks of the viewers? I keep saying listeners, but it's the viewers.
I just want to say thank you. I kind of want to end where how I started. Thank you to all the creators that are saving the economy, because you are. Thank you so, so much. And I really want to encourage you right now to focus on growth. How can you accelerate your growth? At On the Mark Strategies, we have a plan to help you not just survive this economic downturn, but thrive. We've got a plan that can help you do that. And I think if you focus on accelerating, focus on thriving, you're going to really be better positioned moving forward. There's opportunity out there, and now's the time for your credit union to take advantage of that. And if you do that, you will accelerate your growth moving forward.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for your time today. We're going to link to everything in the notes that accompany this post below. And I hope you stay healthy, my friend, to you and your family. And I look forward to talking to you on the podcast, and at some point, all of us being back on the road and seeing each other in person. So
I think you and I were supposed to be in Hawaii. I think it was this week or last week. We should have been doing this on a beach somewhere.
It's absolutely. That's right. Next time, my friend. Next time.
There you go.
Have a fantastic day, Mark. Thank you.
You too, Randy. Take care. Bye now.